Welcome to our discussion today with Johnny Maddox, 90 years young, a longtime pianist, and probably the most well-known ragtime piano player of several generations. It's good to have you with us today,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Maddox. Thank you so much
Very
for
kind.
joining us. I read where you began your piano lessons with your great aunt. Am I correct?
That's right.
Lula, is that right?
Zula.
Zula. What? Tell me about her. Zula
Well,
Cochran?
she played at the St. Louis World's Fair in 1904.
Okay.
The fair didn't open until a year later than it was supposed to. And she was there, and she started me. She said, my mother would take me by the hand. I lived on Winchester Street. My great-grandfather Maddox was in the Civil War, and he came to Gallatin with his best buddy and settled in Gallatin.
What age were you when your great aunt began?
3.
3 years of age.
Yeah, she said I banged on the piano and finally quit doing it and placed my hands on the keyboard instead of banging.
Yeah. And I think I read also that your first professional kind of appearance was at age 5.
Yeah, Miss Dresser. Prudence Simpson Dresser.
Was this a teacher? Was this a piano teacher?
Yeah, she taught violin and piano.
Okay. Was that here in Gallatin?
Yes, it was. It was right there. It was General Payne's headquarters. It's where Eliza Allen lived, in that house.
Okay.
Across from the old hotel.
Yes.
It was torn down. Bert Wallace was our only policeman in the Gallatin at that time. He couldn't read or write, and he wore an overcoat the year round.
Well, tell me at age 5 how proficient you were on the piano.
Pretty good.
Really?
Yeah.
And when did you begin this lifelong love affair with ragtime?
In early 1939.
39. And you would have been what age at that time?
Well, you figured it from 27.
Okay. So about 11 or 12 years of age at that point.
Yeah.
Wow. And do you have anything that you remember that specifically pointed you towards ragtime piano? Was there anything?
Well, I played it because it was very happy music.
Okay.
And I tried to play it correctly.
I remember.
It's just you play a steady marching bass with your left hand, and the right hand works against the left hand. That's what ragtime's all about.
So it's literally an opposition. One hand is an opposition to the other.
That's exactly right.
Wow. And I don't know if most of us can grasp that without a knowledge of music. That just amazes me that one would. How do you describe the oppositional?
Well, one of the writers said lots like to play at it, but very few can play it.
Yes, sir. Okay, I got you. As you began this career, you were Mr. Ragtime. I mean, you were known as Mr. Ragtime.
Yeah, I have a store on Hollywood Boulevard.
I know you do. It's right beside Will Rogers, if I'm not mistaken.
It was, yes.
And that was a surprise to you to even see your own.
I didn't even know it was there.
You did not know it existed until you saw it.
No, I didn't. I had been recording that night in Hollywood with Randy.
Yeah.
And when I got tired and I was walking down the street, Hollywood Boulevard, came up on mine and I nearly fainted. I thought, well, this is one time I'm not associated with Johnny Mathis. Maddox Mathis sounds, kind of like.
Yeah, I'm sure that probably was a confusion to a lot of folks.
And I went and told Randy about it. He said, well, I thought I told you about it. He said, no. It was the first one, one of the first ones put down there.
Yeah.
61, I think.
It was in the first group of Hollywood stars.
It was, yeah. It's still there now.
Yeah, it is. And will always.
Yeah, a woman sent me a picture of her kneeling down on it.
Really?
My sons have seen it.
Good. You have 4 sons.
I have 4.
And they each live in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Yeah, 8 grandchildren.
8 grandchildren. Amazing.
Yeah, my ex-wife was from Little Rock.
I heard you in an interview say one time that you were more married to the piano than anything else.
That's exactly right.
And I think you said that it probably was a factor in the dissolution of that marriage.
It was.
Yeah.
Because I was gone all the time.
Right.
And no woman's going to take that,
Sure. Yeah. But it was also a calling that you could not resist, was it not?
No, I made a lot of money.
That's wonderful. Tell me about some of the. I know that you performed in some venues for nearly 20 years. 16 years in Denver, Colorado. I think
17.
17 in Denver, Colorado. Where in Denver?
Colorado Boulevard. It was on Colorado. It's gone now.
Okay.
The Cherry Creek Inn.
Cherry Creek Inn.
Yeah, I have a cassette of a fellow recorded me there.
Okay. And I remember also at one time reading about you several years ago, and I was reading some information about you. You were playing at that time in Alexandria, Virginia.
That's true.
And that was a lengthy tenure there also.
Yep, I was there 16 years.
Yeah. But I also heard you say that you have performed professionally every state except Oregon and Hawaii.
I had a chance to go to Hawaii one time, but to play USO.
Yes.
I was in the Army too in 1947.
I see. Did you perform during
Oh
your
yeah,
term in the
I
Army?
played for a boy that had a kind of a soprano voice, and in fact they said we'll get you out of doing
combat.
Get you out of that, and you can play piano.
Okay.
But I got in the day that the GI Bill of Rights went out of existence, so they said you can stay or leave. I said I'm leaving. So I got out.
Yeah. You told me about your great aunt, who taught you the beginnings of your piano.
Yeah.
And then you told me about your piano teacher here in Gallatin.
Yeah, I had two of them.
Who was the second one?
Ms. Neal.
Ms. Neal.
Who was the niece of Ms. Dresses.
Okay. Were there any other professional trainers in your career?
No.
Just those three? Mm-hmm. And I suspect...
Oh, Leela, I don't know. I had her here.
Okay.
She could make a piano knit a pair of socks, I'll tell you.
Really?
She was that good. She was with the Bluegrass Serenaders.
Yes.
They were on the opening of WSM in Nashville.
Right. Yeah. Now, I remember having met, and I spent some time with Mr. J.O. Templeton.
Yep, he played drums.
He did, and I remember having been around him in the Gallatin Lions Club.
Yeah.
Tell me about your early years with his band.
Well, he went to see my father about getting me. He says, well, you have to talk to my mother, my grandmother. She was the matriarch of the family. Mm-hmm. She said, yeah, you can have him, but I want him home by 2 o'clock. Don't want him drinking, don't want him smoking, don't want him cursing. So to this day, I never smoked a cigarette. I never drank, and worked in places they had
served alcohol.
I mean, they had to sell drinks, so I couldn't work.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I went through all that, but I don't drink today.
So Mr. Templeton agreed to all those terms?
Well, no, my grandmother did.
Well, she had to go through. She set those terms down.
Yes, that's exactly right. And I knew better not to obey her. Yeah. She who must be obeyed.
She was the matriarch. Am I correct?
That's right.
Tell me about where you played besides that as a child and as a teenager around here in Gallatin
No, I left Gallatin in 1954, I guess.
Okay. At what age?
I was about 16, 17.
Okay. And went where at that point?
Well, I went down to Miami, Florida with Eddie Arnold and Deacon Andy Griffith. You know who he was?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I played his old act, believe it or not.
So you were playing professionally at 16?
Oh yeah. And recording.
And recording.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So, do you ever feel like you missed out on some of your teenage years?
No.
As a result of that?
No.
You had an experience that was uncanny. It was uncanny to have an experience like that at that age.
No,
I'm sure.
I don't think I missed too much.
Okay. You were drafted into the military.
No, I was not drafted. I volunteered.
You volunteered.
During the war, 1946 or 47, I went in the Air Corps in San Antonio, Texas.
I see.
And I went in the day the GI Bill of Rights went out of existence.
Yeah.
And they said, you can stay, you can get out. I said, I'm going to get out. So that's why I started my work in clubs and that kind of theaters and that kind of thing.
Many of us know of Randy Woods, Dot Records. Wood, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
And Dot Records, and of course.
He told me a long time ago, I'm hot one minute and cold the next. That was his personality, exactly.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But he gave me my start in the recording business.
And he had Randy's record shop.
He sure did.
And you were one of his first recordings.
I was. Yes, I was.
Not? Do you remember what song that was?
Yes, I do. I did a 1913 rag called Crazy Bone Rag, written by Charles L. Johnson, Kansas City, Missouri. He wrote a very famous rag called Dill Pickles. I don't know whether you're familiar with that one.
I'm not familiar with that. I would like to hear it sometime. Are there recordings of you still available of that?
Yeah, they are. TV Baby, you can get them.
Okay.
The best record I ever made was the Dixieland Blues. And I used all the musicians that were in Pete Kelly's Blues on the movies.
I see.
I'm the only one left that's still alive.
Really?
Of that whole group of musicians.
Amazing. That was an astounding group of talent.
1955. Oh, I had a big write-up in Walter Winchell's column on that record.
Wow. I believe you were the first pianist, to sell 1 million records.
That's right.
On a recording. Am I correct?
That's right. In the history of recording, yes.
What was that song?
Crazy Bone. No, that was Crazy Auto Medley.
I remember there was a Cleveland disc jockey involved with the
Bill
name
Randall.
of that. Bill Randall, that's right. Tell me about
WERE in Cleveland.
Right. And
Bill's gone now. He's dead.
Yes.
I'd fly.
But he helped you come up with that name. Am I correct?
Yeah. We covered a record. That was a big thing with Randy, to cover records. Mm-hmm. There were big hits, in the mail order business. Billy Vaughan's The Melody of Love was one.
Sure.
Wayne King recorded that with somebody reading poetry over the top of it.
Right.
And he made a straight melody. Billy recorded.
Who was the man who described you as a white man with a colored man finger?
W.C. Handy.
That's right, W.C. Handy. And of course, that might not be as politically correct a statement today, but in history...
Well, I'm not going to change it.
You're not going to change history, are you?
Because he was black.
Yeah. But he said you were a white man with a colored man's fingers. Am I correct? You had that
white boy with colored fingers.
With that kind of rhythm in your system.
Yeah. Well, when I went to him to try to get the tempos, how he played his early music.
I see.
See, Memphis Blues was one of the first blues written.
Correct.
And it had on the front of the sheet music a real Southern rag.
I see. And you have a huge collection of that sheet music.
I do. I did have. I've been selling it to stay in this place.
I see. Where you live now, here in Gallatin.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. Tell me about your years playing in Las Vegas. Who did you played with some huge stars there also. I mean, Eddie Arnold was when you went to Florida, but when you got later in your career in Vegas,
Patsy Cline, I've worked with her.
Elvis
Carol
Presley.
Channing, I worked with her.
Yeah.
Nat King Cole.
Yeah, Nat King Cole.
Yeah, I've worked with them.
What did they do?
Patty Page, I worked with her.
Yeah.
You remember her?
I do.
With Tennessee Waltz.
Yes, I sure do.
I knew Pee Wee King, who wrote that. I did his show up in Louisville, Kentucky.
Really? So, a huge career. What would you say was the crowning moment of your career? Do you know? What would you think would be the
Probably working with Patsy Cline.
Was she just
I didn't even know who she was.
Really?
I had never heard of her. She was rich. She loved me. We got along great. A couple invited us to go up in the mountains and have breakfast. And we get halfway up there, the guy runs out of gas.
Oh my goodness.
So here's Patsy and I sitting on the side of the road on a bank, talking and carrying on foolishness.
Yeah.
And I was behind her the night. I was out in Maryville, Tennessee, Hillbilly Homecoming.
Okay.
Maryville, Tennessee, and I was right behind her. And she had on a mean stole. I said, "You're going to burn up." She said, "Listen, I just bought it and I'm going to wear it." I said, "Good for you."
That's right. She was a huge talent, though, wasn't she?
Oh, she was wonderful. I didn't know who she was. That's the truth. But I loved her so much. I had more fun with her.
Tell me about Elvis Presley. And
Yes, I
meeting
met
him.
him through Colonel Don Barker.
Okay.
I knew Colonel Tom Parker down in Miami, Florida. He was Eddie Arnold's manager.
All right.
And he brought Elvis over to hear me. They had to buy up Elvis' contract first time in Las Vegas because they didn't want all that, hip shaking and carrying on. Well, anyway, Elvis came over to me. He says, "You sure play a mean piano." And he gave me one of these kind of handshakes.
Yeah.
And he never looked at me while he was talking to me. He looked down at the floor.
Really.
But he had nice manners. He was a good kid.
Yeah. And went on to a great career.
Of course.
Yeah, certainly so. So did you ever? Let me ask you this: How in the course of your career did you ever play piano as Patsy Cline was singing?
No.
You did not. You were
I
separate?
don't even remember what you sang over in Maryville.
Okay.
I was standing right behind her.
You were just different acts. You were coming on stage at different times.
Yeah, yeah.
Who would you have played with that was a great vocalist in those days? Who did you accompany?
Pat Boone won.
Okay.
Probably played for him the first time he walked on the stage. He was going to high school.
Wow.
Nashville.
Was that in Nashville?
Yeah.
I assume at David Lipscomb in those days, was it not? Yeah.
Yeah, I came back and told Randy about him, but Noah Ball, I don't know whether you that
I
name.
do remember Noah Ball, yes.
Is he dead? I guess he
Yes,
is.
he has passed on.
Well, anyway, he came back and told Randy about Pat Boone, and he signed up Pat. But Pat was a good kid. He's still alive.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
And I knew his wife, Red Foley's daughter.
That's correct. That is correct.
I never met Red Foley. But I worked with Whitey Ford. Do you remember him? The Duke of Paducah.
Yes, sir. I do.
I never will forget, we were going out for lunch, and Eddie Arnold was in the front seat, and I was in the back seat. And it was like going through a plowed ground. The old Duke reached up and touched the driver. Said, "When you find a hole in the fence, let's get back on the road."
I suspect there were some great moments like that through your career, meeting with all the
yeah.
stars and
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
I've got a little friend, my friend Adam Swanson, he really can play. You ought to pull him up on your computer.
Okay. Now he's playing in Denver now, am I correct?
No. No, he's in California now.
Okay.
He went out there to get his PhD, and they gave him a lot of Oriental studies, and he said, "I can make more money playing piano than I can fool with this." So, but he's going to do a book about me.
Okay.
And I had Dr. Gordon Prang. Do you know who that was?
No, sir.
He was a good friend of mine. He taught World War I, II history at the University of Maryland, and he had 6 books published after he died. At
Wow.
Dawn We Slept was one. He was at Pearl Harbor, and he went into Japan the first with MacArthur's troops, and he was a great friend of mine.
Yeah.
And he was going to do a book he had started going to do a book about me. And then he said he was going to do a book about World War II nurses. He brought a lady in from St. Paul, Minnesota, who had been a nurse at Pearl Harbor.
I see.
And the little girl ran over to him and went, Dr. Prang, where's your wife tonight? And we got a big kick out of that, of course. But he was a wonderful man.
You lived for a year in Austria.
I did.
Tell me what brought that about?
Well, I was mad at the world. I'd gone through a terrible divorce, just awful.
So you went to Austria.
I loved it. I had wonderful neighbors.
You play piano there?
Well, for
Professionally?
myself, and no,
Okay.
just for myself and my neighbors. I had wonderful neighbors over there.
I see.
And my lady friend that lived down the road from me, she said, "I never once said hi, Hitler, never."
Huh.
And I believe that she got her Jewish friends out of Vienna into England. Okay. And they went from England to China, and they were with the Jewish bunch over there under the Japanese rule, believe it or not.
So you spent a year in Austria just
to get rid of the taste of the divorce out of my mouth.
Yeah, just to kind of redefine yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Stayed over there, and I loved it. I had wonderful neighbors. I got pretty good with German. I use it every once in a while.
And then you came back to the States and
Yeah,
began
went
playing.
went back to the Cherry Creek Inn in Denver
In
first
Denver.
when I returned.
Okay. Lawrence Welk, was he not a part of your past also?
Yes, he was.
You appeared
I
on the
worked
Lawrence
with him
Welk
in
show?
Detroit. We did a show there for the Newspaper Men of America, and I played with his orchestra. I played piano, and he offered me a job, but I said no, I can't do. I can't do this. We'll give you a new car every year. I said no, don't want to do that. I can't leave my family.
Right.
So I was offered a job with him.
That's wonderful.
And big, tiny little, told everybody I was the reason he was in business. He said that they did a interview with him on Lawrence Welk. Did you see it?
I used to see Lawrence Welk, yes.
Well, big, tiny little.
I don't remember that.
Played piano.
Okay. So he took the job you turned down.
Well, more or less, yeah.
Sort of like that. If you could rewrite history, the Johnny Maddox history right now, is there a ragtime piece that you would go back to start with today? Is there one
Probably
ragtime?
St. Louis Tickle,
St. Louis Tickle.
1904.
And you recorded it.
I did.
Yeah.
First
On
record
Dot
I
Records.
made. First record I made.
That was the first one.
Crazy Bone Rag on one side of the record and the other, St. Louis Tickle.
Yeah.
Written for the St. Louis World's Fair.
Sure. Wow. Tell me about the first airmail. What do you remember about the first airmail?
Well, Carrie Briggs Whiteside's mother was the one. I can't remember the old lady's name right now. Her father worked for the railroad, and he was a telegrapher, and that's what he taught Andrew Carnegie, being a telegrapher.
Okay.
Anyway, the balloon came here, and she went out and found this letter. It had a letter inside of the envelope that had to be mailed somewhere else. I think the Smithsonian has the original letter.
I see.
But I had the envelope it came in.
Yes. Yes.
It has balloon buffalo on the outside of it.
I declare.
Did you see it?
I did not. I have not seen it. No.
It's in the museum.
All right. I will look for that.
I sold it to him.
I understand. Okay. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Okie dokie.